HarperCollins presents The Catalans by Patrick O'Brien, read by John Hopkins. For Mary, with love. Forward. On the 3rd of September, 1949, my mother, Mary, and her husband, Patrick O'Brien, descended from the train at Collioure railway station and made their way under a burning sun into the small but markedly picturesque town of Collioure. The air was warm with the smell of the sea, and their hopes rose higher than they had ever been in their previous cramped cottage in the remote and rugged mountains of North Wales. There they had spent the previous 4 years, their initial high hopes of Patrick reviving his promising pre-war literary career diminishing by the year, above all during the grim, rain-sodden winters. Edgar Williams, the local farm boy, recalled to me Patrick's parting aphorism: "If you're going to be poor, it's better to live in a warm country." He had hit on the beautiful Mediterranean town of Collioure more or less by chance, finding it mentioned in a wartime report when he was working with the Political Warfare Executive, PWE. Before adopting the bold step of removing to so remote a locality, Patrick initially travelled there alone to conduct a brief reconnaissance. Pretty soon he discovered a single-room flat at 39 Rue Arago, opposite one of the great gateways in the medieval walls facing the harbour. The flat comprised a single room, with neither running water nor heating. When, a few years later, I stayed with him and my mother, I slept comfortably enough in a sort of horizontal cupboard let into the wall. It was when he was fetching water from the nearby street pump that he encountered a stunningly beautiful local girl, courtyards in Catalan, named Odette Boutet. With dark, flashing eyes, long raven hair, and a stunning figure, she made a deep impression on Patrick. On my parents' arrival in the town, she became at once a close friend. Their common poverty provided a particular bond. Odette's husband was a sculptor and painter named Francois Bernardi, who remains famed in the town for his magnificent rendering in Collioure's railway station of life in and around the town, depicting the inhabitants fishing and tending their vineyards. He also painted a fresco in a somewhat squalid nightclub in the basement of the house where my parents lived. In fact, its nightly cacophony so angered Patrick that he wrote a short story entitled The Lemon, in which the protagonist, i.e. Patrick, tosses a hand grenade into the midst of the boisterous revellers. Unfortunately, Odette's faithless Francois ran off with a beautiful older film actress in Paris. My mother and Patrick were deeply concerned by Odette's distress and attended the divorce proceedings in court. The dramatic potentialities of this drama struck Patrick immediately, and the next day my mother recorded in her diary that P showed me the plot he has sketched out for Odette and Francois. This has not survived, but before long Patrick became immersed in developing the novel on a larger scale, which finally became an affectionate, if at times harshly realistic, paean to Collioure and its lively inhabitants. In December 1951, during a walk with my mother up to the Madlock Tower, which dominates the skyline above the town, he outlined his plan for the novel. Finally, in September of the following year, Patrick hit on the title, The Catalans. Collioure itself is clearly the lightly disguised Saint-Feliu of the novel, although Patrick early on emphatically precludes the identity. This shift can scarcely have been intended to conceal the fact that Collioure provides the real setting of events. Passing descriptions of the town are unmistakably applicable to Collioure, with the necessary fictive omission of the town's massive Chateau Royal. Otherwise, the identification is unmistakable. Particularly evocative to me is this glimpse, one of many, of a familiar corner of the town which, like other scenes in the novel, has today not changed at all. From the Place, he walked up the narrow arcades, a street where the houses stood almost touching overhead, and where the shops filled the arched-over pavement with baskets of brilliant fruit and vegetables. Opposite the Fajal's shop, he hesitated, looked in under the arch beyond the foreshop into the shop behind, where, in the fly-blown gloom, a little crowd of old
Sample complete. Ready to continue?